Good afternoon, children. Does anybody know what today is? It's a special day. It's the first day of spring. Now, what do you think about that? The first day of spring, and it's only in the 40s today. It's cold outside, but it is the first day of spring. And so springtime is when things start to bloom and to grow. So we're going to read a story, and it's called Tadpoles. Last fall, I got a little brother. All he could do was yell and smell and drool. Ma carried him everywhere. I had to walk. One afternoon in spring, we walked to the pond. "Carry me," I said. But Ma said, "Sweetie, I have to carry Davy." And we sat down. Davy got to sit in her lap. If we held very still, frogs began to sing. I waded to a rock and looked in the water. Something shiny floated in the weeds. "Look," I called, "little balls of jelly." "Those are eggs," said Ma. "A mother frog laid them." "They've got dots inside," I said. "Those dots will grow legs and turn into frogs," said Ma. All animals look like dots when they're just beginning to grow. People do too. "Was I a dot?" I asked. "Yes, when you were inside me. Then you grew legs and arms and turned into a baby and got born." "Was Davy a dot?" I asked. "He was. The legs he grew don't work," I said. "Wait and see," said Ma. "He'll learn to walk." But I said, "I'd rather have a frog than a brother." Oh my goodness. Ma smiled. "Scoop up a few eggs then," she said. "We'll take them home in a plastic bag and watch how they grow. But Molly, when they've turned into frogs, we'll have to bring them back to their pond." "Okay?" "Okay," I promised. When we walked back home, Ma carried Davy, and I carried some eggs floating in pond water. I put them in my old fishbowl and watched them, but they didn't turn into frogs. They didn't do anything. After a week, I lifted Davy up to see. "That's what you used to be," I told him, "a dot." I looked again. "Hey," I shouted, "my dots are growing tails." Ma came to look. "A frog's egg has turned into a tadpole first," she said. "That's a baby frog. The way Davy has to be a baby first, and then a boy." Inside the jelly, my tadpoles wiggled. Soon they wiggled themselves right out into the water. The jelly fell apart and the tadpoles swam around. Ma said, "Their frilly gills are to breathe with underwater, like fish." Every day I lifted Davy up to see. I had to catch him first because he was learning to crawl. "It's nice of you to show Davy your tadpoles," said Ma. I said, "I'm teaching him to be a boy instead of a baby." I brought my tadpoles fresh water and plants from the pond. They nibbled the green fuzzy algae that grew on the plants. They got bigger. Their gills disappeared and they came up to breathe the air. 2 stumpy lumps grew next to their tails. "That's where their legs will be," said Dad. On the 4th of July, we went camping all weekend. When we got home, my tadpoles had grown tiny back legs. "They kicked like Davy," said Dad. All summer, my tadpoles swam and swam. Davy crawled and crawled. My tadpoles ate lettuce and even meat if I hung it in their water on a string. Davy ate fig Newtons and rubbed them in my hair. "Tad," he said, and tried to crawl up on my table. I caught him. "My tadpoles," I said. "Pretty soon they'll grow front legs. They'll learn to jump." "When they can jump, they'll be frogs," said Ma. "Then we'll take them back to their pond." "Not yet," I said. "They're still babies." But next morning, when I lifted Davy up, I saw my tadpoles were growing front legs. Summer was almost over. Davy could stand up, he could walk, but only if he held on to my fingers. He wanted to practice walking all the time. My tadpoles' tails disappeared. I put a rock in their bowl, and as their legs got stronger, they learned to crawl up onto it. They look like frogs now, I told Davy one morning, but they still can't jump. Said Davy. He pointed. One little frog jumped right out of the fish bowl. Gently, Ma caught it. She covered the bowl with a cloth. All grown up, she said. No, I said. They're ready to be big frogs, said Ma. I don't care. I know you don't want to take them back, Molly, said Ma. Let's enjoy them today. Tomorrow we can walk to the pond. Walk, said Davy, and pulled on my fingers. Grow up, I said. Walk by yourself. I pulled my fingers away. He sat down on his bottom and cried. That night, Ma sat with me and patted my back. You love your froggies a lot, she said. But would a big frog be happy in a tiny fish bowl? We could get a great big fish bowl, I said. It wouldn't have trees and birds and dragonflies like their real home, said Ma. They need room to jump and lay more eggs, so there will be frogs for next summer. But they're mine, I said. Are they? Said Ma. Or do they belong to themselves? Next morning, we took the path to the pond. Ma carried Davy. I carried my frogs, so carefully in a plastic bowl with a towel over it so they couldn't jump out. Ma put Davy down and held his hand. I stood on the rock with my bowl of frogs and cried. Molly, said Ma, it's time to let them go. I said, I don't want to. Davy let go of Ma's hand. Molly, walk, he said. He held out his arms to me all by himself. He wobbled down the shore, splashed through the water, and crashed into my legs. The bowl flew into the air. All together, Davy and the frogs and I went sploosh. Oh my goodness. Ma splashed into the pond and grabbed us both. Davy howled. I yelled. He made me drop my frogs. I know, said Ma. She held me tight. But look how well you taught him. He walked all by himself, straight to you. Davy stopped howling. The pond was quiet. My frogs aren't singing, I said. Not till spring, said Ma. Will I hear them then? For sure. We started home. Carry me, I said. Davy can walk now. Could you take turns, said Ma? And that's what we did. So if you've got a creek or a pond or some water around with your parents, go and look around. You might find some of these frog eggs, and you can have some tadpoles and watch them grow into frogs. All part of nature. Thanks, kid. Have a great afternoon, and I'll see you soon.